Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Woodman, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will wrap up this video set series on productive conflicts and disagreements by providing a recap of it. This video set series gave you guidance on how to productively approach conflicts and disagreements so that they do not ruin any relationships you have with people you care about. You now understand how we can see conflicts and disagreements as positive things to connect with each other more, and how resolving them is not as tough as we think. Throughout this video set series, we talked about the foundations of conflicts and disagreements, how to have a positive mindset about handling conflicts, and the best ways to productively handle conflicts and disagreements. Let's break them down. The difference between disagreements and conflicts is disagreements happen when people don't see eye to eye on a certain thing, and conflicts arise when a problem between people requires more effort to resolve. Because it is easier than ever to share opinions, both in person and online, we constantly counter viewpoints that differ from our own. This makes it important to learn how to engage productively with people we disagree with. A key concept discussed is the difference between high context and low context communication, a distinction introduced by anthropologist Edward T. Hall. In high context cultures, the communication is implied rather than directly stated. Communication tends to be indirect, subtle, and focused on maintaining relationships. People rely on shared understanding, traditions, and unspoken social rules. This style is more common in Asian societies, small communities, families, and long-established groups. In low-context cultures, communication is direct and explicit. People clearly state their thoughts, intentions, and feelings, and do not always leave the meaning of a conversation up for interpretation. This style is more common in North America and Europe, large and diverse communities, startups, and especially online spaces. Modern life is pushing more of the world towards low-context communication. Urbanization, diversity, and digital technology mean we interact more often with strangers and people from different backgrounds. Online communication removes tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language, which increases the chances of misunderstanding and conflict. Humans are not purely rational when we disagree, because neuroscience shows that when our strongly held beliefs are challenged, the brain can react as if we are facing a physical threat. This triggers a fight or flight response. The fight response leads to hostility and arguments, which are common on social media. The flight response leads people to avoid difficult conversations altogether. Both reactions are common in today's world. Social media platforms expose people to different views, including ones they strongly dislike. Content that uses moral and emotional language spreads more easily, which encourages outrage and extreme reactions. That can intensify a conflict. Online spaces also weaken long-standing social norms that once helped people avoid unnecessary arguments with strangers. We don't always randomly interact with strangers in person, but we freely do so on social media without regard to civility. As a result, people often engage in public displays of anger instead of having meaningful conversations with those they disagree with. Despite all of this, we do not have to automatically see conflict as something that will harm your relationships with people. Here are 3 reasons why. The first reason conflict is helpful is conflict brings us closer with people and strengthen our connections with them when they are handled with empathy and understanding. Psychologist Nicola Overall identified 4 ways people communicate during difficult conversations. 1, direct and opposition. This involves blaming, criticizing, and demanding change. 2, direct and cooperation. This involves reasoning, problem solving, and negotiating. 3, indirect and opposition. This involves guilt tripping, passive aggression, and expressing hurt to gain sympathy. 4, indirect and cooperation. This involves softening tension with affection, humor, and reassurance. While people assume hostility damages relationships, Overall's research found that couples who engage in more direct confrontational conflict are more likely to make progress on resolving problems over time. Conflict helps people understand each other because it brings real feelings to the surface. Research on empathy by psychologist William Ikes shows that humans are actually very bad at mind reading. Even close partners misunderstand each other often. At the beginning of relationships, people pay close attention and build accurate understandings of each other, but over time, they rely on old assumptions and stop noticing new information. Conflict disrupts those assumptions and forces people to listen more carefully. Emotional moments, even angry ones, can reveal what truly matters to someone. Simply talking more does not automatically create understanding. Communication only helps when it includes empathy and genuine listening. Heated disagreements can sometimes make people more honest and clever about their needs, which improves long-term understanding. Avoiding conflict often leads to passive aggression, where frustrations are expressed indirectly through negativity, silence, or attitude instead of honest discussion. This is especially common in workplaces where people feel pressure to stay polite. Environments filled with passive aggression are less productive and more toxic. In contrast, organizations that openly address disagreements build trust, teamwork, and stronger relationships. When it comes to conflict in the workplace, we need to look at task conflict, disagreements about how to solve a problem, and relationship conflict, which is personal attacks and rivalry. Task conflict can improve decisions and creativity, while relationship conflict can be damaging and unproductive. All of this comes down to mindset. When people feel challenged but capable, they stay open-minded and collaborative. When they feel threatened, they become defensive, rigid, and focus on winning instead of solving the problem. Healthy organizations create cultures where people can disagree directly. We looked at the example of Southwest Airlines, where open communication and proactive conflict resolution helped teams coordinate better and become more productive and profitable. The second reason conflict is helpful is that it makes us smarter, where we get to have our perspectives challenged to think about how to expand our mindset and make better decisions. The idea goes back to Socrates, who believed truth is discovered through dialogue. Instead of trying to win arguments, Socrates asked questions that expose weak assumptions, including his own. His methods show that being proven wrong is not embarrassing, but a path to learning. This means we think better together than alone. When we challenge and test people's ideas, we get to see if they are true or false, practical or impractical, effective or ineffective, etc. Groups without disagreement often make worse decisions because of groupthink, which is people go along with the dominant opinion to avoid tension, and shared information bias, which is where people assume others know better and hold back their doubts. Disagreement forces hidden information, concerns, and alternative ideas into the open, but not all disagreement works the same way. Psychologist Charlene Nemeth found that authentic dissent, which is when someone truly believes their opposing view, leads to more creative and thoughtful discussions than when someone is just assigned to play devil's advocate. Real disagreement feels riskier and more meaningful, which pushes everyone to think more carefully. When it comes to emotions, productive disagreement is not emotion-free. It actually depends on trust and mutual respect, because people need to feel they are working with each other, not against each other. People want to know they are looking out for their best interests. Without that emotional foundation, disagreement will make you defensive and make the conversation unproductive. We talked about confirmation bias that humans have, where we naturally look for evidence that supports what we already believe. On our own, this makes us bad at objective thinking. But according to evolutionary psychologists Hugo Mercer and Dan Sperber, reasoning did not evolve for one individual seeking the truth on their own, but rather it evolved for arguing and collaborating in groups. When people debate, each person defends their position with reasons and evidence. Others challenge weak arguments, and the group goes with the stronger ideas. So if people share a common goal of finding the best answer to a solution, then it is good for us to convey viewpoints that make us smarter and not just winning an argument. We often imagine smart thinking as a single individual genius working in isolation. In reality, human intelligence is deeply social. Each of us knows far less than we think, a phenomenon called knowledge illusion. We rely on others' knowledge constantly because we hear what someone has said and use it to enhance or expand our perspectives. Open disagreement helps us access that shared intelligence by exposing what others know and what we have overlooked. We talked about how the scientific method is built on organized disagreement, where scientists propose ideas, often, or I should say other scientists test, challenge, and critique them. And through this back and forth, better explanations emerge. But when disagreement is suppressed, scientific explanations also become suppressed. In the example we looked at on the sugar versus fat debate, in the 20th century, nutrition science largely blamed fat for heart disease while downplaying sugar's risks. Researcher John Yudkin, who warned about sugar, was dismissed, and not many scientists listened to him. Because dissent on this issue did not happen, flawed dietary advice was the dominant viewpoint for decades and did not solve the major health problems. This shows that when disagreement is silenced, bad ideas can go unchallenged. The third reason conflict is helpful is it inspires us to be creative and innovative with coming up with ideas. The story of Wilbur and Orville Wright, the Wright brothers, shows how productive disagreement fuels breakthroughs. While trying to solve a dangerous flaw in their glider, the Wright brothers argued intensely. To the general public, their debates looked heated and uncomfortable. But for them, arguing was how they thought about things together. They had learned from their father to debate both sides of an issue, challenge each other's ideas, and switch perspectives. This helped them uncover hidden truths instead of only sticking with their pre-existing beliefs. Their arguments were not about ego, but instead they were about discovery. After one particularly intense disagreement, Orville stayed up all night thinking about Wilbur's points. The next morning, he proposed a solution that led to the first fully controllable glider, an adjustable rudder. Their disagreement directly inspired a historical innovation. The key takeaway from this example is that productive disagreement and conflicts relies on us to strongly criticize and listen to each other that are grounded in deep trust and a shared goal of achieving a solution. The same pattern appears in science. James Watson and Francis Crick, who discovered the structure of DNA, described how they constantly try to tear down each other's ideas in a candid but non-hostile way. This honest critique helped them refine their thinking faster than rival teams who were more reserved. Research by psychologist Charlene Nema challenges the popular brainstorming rule that says, quote, "there are no bad ideas," unquote. In experiments, groups that were encouraged to debate and criticize their ideas actually generated more creative ideas than groups told to avoid criticism. When disagreement is normal and expected, people often feel less anxious about being judged and more willing to share bold ideas. Essentially, the goal isn't to attack people, but to test ideas so the best ones can emerge. Conflict becomes inspiring rather than destructive when two conditions are present. One, trust. This is believing the other person isn't trying to win an argument, but wants to have a good outcome. It is knowing that the other person is arguing in good faith. Two, shared goals. This is working towards something meaningful together. The stronger the relationship and the clearer the shared goals are, the more open and energizing disagreements can be. Those are the three reasons conflicts are helpful for us. Conflicts are big moments for us to improve our relationships with people, make smarter choices, and come up with new ideas to solve an issue. So let's proceed into the best ways to productively disagree and handle conflicts. It begins with establishing a connection with a person. The tone of this connection set in the first moments of a conversation often determines whether a disagreement becomes constructive or destructive. In the research we looked at, it shows that how a conversation starts strongly predicts how it ends. Here's how. The first few minutes of a difficult conversation or discussion shape the emotional direction of the entire exchange. Even tiny cues like hesitation or tension in a greeting can signal trouble ahead. Once negativity begins, it creates a feedback loop that is very hard to reverse. Humans naturally mirror each other's tone and behavior, the norm of reciprocity. Hostility tends to trigger hostility, while warmth encourages openness. So before diving into a disagreement with someone, you need to show respect and curiosity, acknowledge what the other person cares about, and approach them in a way you would want them to approach you. Trying to look tough or emotionally invulnerable often backfires because you will appear closed-minded. A little openness invites openness in return because the other person feels comfortable with you. People want their feelings heard. You can recognize their feelings by saying statements like, "It sounds like you are feeling frustrated," or "You seem hurt and unheard." When emotions are recognized, people feel safe and are more willing to explain their perspectives calmly. You want to build trust through empathy, which involves meeting someone where they are and not telling them where they should be. Telling someone to calm down usually escalates the conflict because you are telling them how to feel instead of letting them freely express their emotions. Listening first de escalates the conflict. When people feel understood, they become more open to understanding you. Even in fast or unfamiliar interactions, small moments of empathy can create enough trust to have a productive conversation. Checking in with people before tensions grow prevents bigger conflicts later on. Small acts of care, such as noticing when someone seems off, asking how they are doing, letting them know they are not alone, etc., strengthen relationships and make future disagreements easier and healthier. When we handle conflicts and disagreements, we need to let go of the urge to control how other people think or feel. Just like you wouldn't like someone telling you how to feel, you shouldn't tell others how to feel. While you can't control other people's reactions, you can control how you respond to them. It is natural to want others to react in ways that feel easier or more comfortable for us. When someone is angry, sad, or anxious, we may try to fix their emotions, but emotions are personal and autonomous. Trying to control them often prevents us from understanding why the person feels that way in the first place. Instead, allow people the choice to share or not share something, fully listen to the person when they do open up, and show respect for their emotional experience. Trying to control a discussion by pushing someone to talk or agree with a viewpoint creates pressure and discomfort. Healthy disagreement involves knowing when to be empathetic and when to be direct, while still allowing the other person autonomy over what they share. When people feel they have a choice, they feel safer, and safety leads to more honest conversations. People become defensive when they feel judged or told their feelings or beliefs are wrong. Once they become defensive, they stop listening and focus only on protecting their position. Rather than trying to force change, you must build trust first. Let people talk through their experiences and create a space where they don't feel the need to defend themselves. When people arrive at new conclusions on their own, they are far more motivated to change. There is a righting behavior, which is an instinct to correct people or prove we are right. Even when it is well-intentioned, it often makes others feel embarrassed, ordered around, or defeated, which leads them to push back harder. The more we try to win, the more the other person resists. This escalates conflict instead of resolving it. Again, disagreements should be approached as a chance to learn collaboratively, not battles to win. We talked about instances of calling someone crazy or delusional when you hear them express conspiracy theories about something and why direct confrontation often fails. It fails because the other person strengthens their defensiveness and deepens their commitment to the belief. Instead, you should let them explain what they believe in, why they believe it, what evidence they have to support their beliefs, and reflect on if it makes sense after the whole discussion. Even if they don't change their minds quickly, it gives the other person autonomy to decide if they should stop believing in the conspiracy theory. It is better to let them change their mind on their own. In our diverse world, we are interacting with people from multiple cultural backgrounds, so knowing the cultural differences is essential for handling conflicts and disagreements. Something that feels minor or normal to you might feel serious or disrespectful to someone from a different cultural background. Effective communication requires awareness that people interpret words, behavior, and tone through their own cultural lens. A key point is that culture shapes how people define situations, including what a negotiation or disagreement even means. Two people may think they are having the same kind of conversation while actually following completely different unspoken rules. Before diving into the details of a conflict, it helps to make sure both sides share an understanding of what the discussion is about and how it should work. Culture is not just about nationality. It also includes values, habits, communication styles, and world views shaped by family, community, profession, and personal experience. Many conflicts happen because people fail to see things from the other person's broader cultural perspective. At the same time, we often forget that we have a culture too, assuming our way of seeing the world is simply normal rather than one perspective among many. The way of thinking and judging fairness vary widely across cultures. Studies comparing Western populations with small-scale societies found that behaviors Westerners consider fair or rational are not universal. Western, educated and industrialized, rich, and democratic, or weird societies tend to think more analytically and focus on abstract rules, while other cultures often think more holistically and focus on relationships and social obligations. Even within the same country, groups such as political liberals and conservatives can think in culturally different ways, interpreting the same issues through different mental frameworks. These differences matter in disagreements. When people assume their own cultural norms are the correct or superior ones, they stop trying to understand the other person. This makes the other side feel dismissed or disrespected, even if the conversation appears polite on the surface. An empathetic, human-centered approach helps prevent this. Instead of trying to prove your cultural perspective is right, focus on learning how the other person sees the situation and how your words or actions might come across to them. It is also important not to turn every disagreement into an argument about culture itself. Respecting cultural differences does not mean agreeing with everything. It means listening, staying respectful, and not dismissing someone's background or values. Since you can't control other people's reactions, the best approach is to manage your own behavior, remain professional, and be willing to adjust when you realize something you did caused discomfort. Cultural clashes often feel threatening because they challenge our sense of what is normal. A helpful mindset is to imagine yourself as a visitor in someone else's cultural world while also recognizing your own cultural assumptions and blind spots. This self-awareness makes it easier to approach disagreements with curiosity rather than defensiveness. For curiosity, you do not want to rush into proving someone wrong or win an argument, but instead you should focus on understanding why the other person thinks the way they do. Curiosity helps us slow down, listen actively, and avoid making assumptions that may not be true. Research by Yale professor Dan Kahan shows that people often distort facts to protect their identity and group belonging. When an issue is tied to politics or personal identity, intelligence and education don't necessarily make people more open-minded. They can actually make people better at defending what they already believe. This happens because people are motivated less by being right and more by staying connected to their social group. Kahan calls this identity protective cognition. However, Kahan also found that curiosity makes a difference. People who are naturally curious, who enjoy learning and discovering new information, show less partisan bias. Curious people are more willing to engage with surprising or challenging ideas, even when those ideas go against their political leanings. In other words, curiosity can reduce the grip of bias. In disagreements, curiosity shifts the goal of winning to understanding. Instead of immediately correcting someone, it helps to let them talk and explain their perspective. This gives you more insight into their experiences and reasoning, and sometimes people even rethink their own position as they speak. The way we ask questions matters too. Questions that sound like challenges, such as why would you believe that, can make people defensive, while open and respectful prompts like, can you tell me more about that, can show genuine interest and keep the conversation collaborative. Curiosity involves assuming that the other person is being rational in some way, even if their behavior seems emotional or illogical. People may be guided by emotions, traditions, relationships, or deeply held values, not just cold logic. Trying to understand what kind of reasoning they are using helps you respond more effectively and respectfully. Another benefit of curiosity is that it reduces defensiveness. Directly telling people they are wrong can trigger anger and anxiety, causing them to cling more tightly to their beliefs, a reaction known as the backfire effect. But when we spark curiosity and a sense of discovery, people are more likely to reflect and consider new perspectives. Sharing stories, expressing your own uncertainty, and showing genuine interest can make conversations feel safer and more open. Conflicts can arise when someone makes a mistake. Mistakes are a normal part of human interactions, whether they involve factual errors, poor judgment, hurtful comments, or an inappropriate tone. What matters most is not avoiding every mistake, but how you respond after making one. This is where apologizing comes in. A sincere apology shows humility, accountability, and care for the relationship. The research we looked at showed that effective apologies help repair trust and even measurable social and economic value. Studies of companies found that those that openly admit their mistakes recovered better financially than those that avoided responsibility. These findings suggest that apologies can reduce anger, rebuild trust, and prevent long, costly conflicts. For an apology to work, it must feel authentic and costly. A costly apology is one that involves some form of sacrifice or vulnerability, which signals sincerity. There are several types. One, costly apology. This is offering something tangible like a gift or compensation. Two, commitment apology. This is promising to change your behavior in the future. Three, status apology. This is admitting fault in a way that lowers your pride or image. Four, deflecting apology. This is saying sorry while denying responsibility, which is usually ineffective because it lacks real costs. Simply saying sorry without emotion or accountability often has little impact because you are not showing you care about the other person and your actions. Overusing apologies can also backfire because they will eventually feel cheap or insincere. It shows you are not improving yourself. Apologies are uncomfortable, and that discomfort is part of what makes them meaningful. A real apology is not about quickly moving on. It is about acknowledging harm, taking responsibility, and showing a desire to do better. Phrases like, "I'm sorry if," weaken an apology because they avoid admitting wrongdoing. The dialogue and conflicts and disagreements are productive when you are using varied and authentic language rather than predictable talking points. Repetitive arguments become stateless, where there is no new substance anymore, no one is learning new things, and no one feels connected with the arguments. Research by Peter Coleman shows that constructive conversations are dynamics such as involving shifting emotions, curiosity, humor, and moments of empathy, while destructive conversations are rigid, predictable, and emotionally flat. Here are some ways to add variety to the dialogue. One, change up your word choice and the way you say those words. Two, ask open-ended questions that invite explanation and reflection rather than yes or no responses. Three, show you are listening by adapting to new points, acknowledging valid arguments, or shifting your tone. Four, break repetitive patterns with unexpected responses. By moving beyond scripts and rigid talking points, conversations become more human, engaging, and productive. When conversations get tense, it is good to set agreed upon norms and boundaries to moderate them, especially when disagreements come up. This helps keep interactions structured, civil, and productive. Using the example of Change My View or CMB on Reddit, this shows how clear rules like no hostility, no soapboxing, and encouraging open-mindedness help create a space where people can challenge each other's views respectfully. Here's how CMB works. One, participants submit their own beliefs and are genuinely open to having their minds change. Two, conversations are collaborative explorations, no debates aimed at winning. Three, understanding the personal context behind a viewpoint improves engagement and receptiveness. Four, respectful tone matters as much as content, while hostility undermines communication. Five, recognition and rewards deltas, those are the rewards there, encourage thoughtful, empathetic engagement. Six, effective persuasion often combines different wording, examples, facts, and storytelling. In the research we looked at, it shows that clearly articulated rules improve participation and discussion quality. Boundaries and norms allow people to engage safely, express curiosity, and learn from each other. By agreeing on how to interact, modeling respect, and fostering curiosity, in-person and online discussions can be constructive and meaningful. Having self-control is crucial for having peaceful conversations. That involves controlling your emotions so conflicts and disagreements do not get out of hand. People often react to others' emotions by mirroring them. This can quickly make small disagreements turn into big arguments without anyone meaning for it to happen. People with good tempers can help keep conversations calm because they control their emotions and vary their emotions wisely instead of reacting defensively, since that can escalate the conflict. We went through the 3 brain levels that anger specialists Ellis Amdor showed. 1, the human brain. This focuses on understanding and finding solutions. 2, the mammal brain. This focuses on dominance and defending yourself when you get upset. 3, the reptile brain. This focuses only on winning the argument and not considering the truth. This is an order based on the intensity of the situation. We talked about how arguments often involve a struggle inside yourself between instinctive reactions, like wanting to win, and higher goals, like keeping a good relationship. You need to step back and reflect by asking yourself, how am I acting? That looks at your behavior, and why am I arguing? That looks at your goals. This helps you respond wisely instead of reacting automatically without any consideration. The last thing we talk about is being genuine and truthful in conversations. After all, none of the tips and guidance shared in this video set series will matter if you are seen as insincere and dishonest. Lying or pretending to care in a disagreement damages your chances of having a real human connection. Trust is essential for healthy relationships. Don't fake compassion or curiosity because people can usually tell when you are pretending. So it is important to mean what you say. Using clever techniques to win or end a conflict may feel smart to you, but they often backfire because tricks show disrespect and reduce your authenticity. Productive disagreements only work if both people are honest and willing to share their true perspectives. Trust and honesty are the foundation of resolving conflicts effectively. Without them, the communication strategies we discuss in this video set series will not work. That is everything we discuss in this video set series. To close things out, conflicts and disagreements can be productive when we are respectful to each other, listen to one another, be authentic, and approach them with figuring out how to be better people. It is easy to get caught up in treating disagreements as a chance to win an argument for personal gain and make the other person feel like they were in the wrong. But coming from a civic engagement mindset, that does not help us build a sense of community and belonging. People need to feel comfortable coming to you to address problems and work on a solution together. They want to know that a disagreement or conflict will not completely end a relationship they have with you. They also want to know they could be their true selves around you. Also, from a civic engagement mindset, society can't be static forever. To avoid being static, we have to disagree with each other and express different viewpoints so we can consider all the options for approaching a situation. If something needs to be changed, we need to freely convey that and discuss it with everyone else. That is how we have good solutions. We create spaces for someone to give ideas that people may or may not agree with, but we can make those spaces inclusive by not shutting them out and listening with open minds. That is how we make our dialogue civil. This officially concludes this video set series of productive conflicts and disagreements. I will be releasing another video set series that goes in depth with another topic in my civic engagement curriculum. But until then, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notifications so you will be notified when I post my next video. I appreciate your support. Remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you are the changemaker our society needs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you soon.